The readings coming from Derry, Maine shouldn't exist. Stephen Strange steps through a portal onto the cracked pavement of Neibolt Street, and the cloak of levitation immediately stiffens. It's not reacting to the wind. It's reacting to a barometric drop caused by immense psychic pressure. Strange has fought demons before, but this energy signature is different. It's ancient, predatory, and it's leaking from the sewers. Today, we're running a simulation that pits the Sorcerer Supreme against the Eater of Worlds. Can a human mind, no matter how disciplined, survive an entity that views our dimension as a dinner plate? Let's dive into the dark. Section 1. The Physiology of Fear and Autonomic Control. Strange descends into the cistern. The air smells like ozone, copper, and old circus grease. He lights the damp darkness with a hovering eldritch sphere, but the light seems to bend around the corners, refusing to travel in straight lines. Suddenly, the shadows condense. A red balloon floats upward against the pull of gravity. Then, the lunge. Pennywise explodes from the water in a blur of orange pom-poms and razor teeth, triggering a biological override code common to every primate, the startle response. In a normal human, this is game over. When a predator ambushes you, your eyes send raw data to the amygdala milliseconds before your visual cortex even processes what you're seeing. To Pennywise, this specific chemical cocktail is flavor. It's the marinade that makes the meat taste better. But Stephen Strange doesn't flinch. His heart rate remains a steady 60 beats per minute. The cortisol spike never happens. Why? Because the Sorcerer Supreme isn't just a master of spells. He's a master of his own physiology. Through years of training in Kamar-Taj, Strange has achieved total autonomic control. He can manually regulate his endocrine system. He acknowledges the threat, but he surgically removes the biological markers of panic. Think of its feeding mechanism like a thermal-seeking missile or a shark sensing electrical impulses. If a shark hunts by blood, it hunts by the scent of neurochemical fear. By suppressing the sweat, the pheromones, and the erratic heartbeat, Strange renders himself chemically invisible to its hunger. Strange raises a hand, fingers forming the glyphs of the Vishanti. The bolts of Balthak, pure concentrated electrical discharge, tears through the damp air and impact the clown's torso. The physical avatar disintegrates into burning paper and spider silk. The biology of the clown cannot withstand the energy output of a sorcerer. However, as the smoke clears, Strange scans the room. The threat level hasn't dropped. He realizes that destroying the biological form of Pennywise is like smashing a laptop because you don't like the website on the screen. Physical damage is irrelevant to an energy being that exists outside of local space-time. For this initial physical confrontation, we're given Strange a survival tier A. He easily handles the biological and physical manifestation of the creature. His neurodiscipline hard counters the fear-feeding mechanic, starving the beast before the fight even begins. But as the cloud's laughter echoes from the drain pipes without a mouth to form it, Strange realizes that the true battle hadn't even started. The monster isn't in the sewer is inside the monster. And now it knows Strange is not food, he is a virus. Section 2. Cognitive Warfare and Sensory Gating. Strange stands in the sewer, but the sewer is gone. The damp concrete melts into a slurry of gray matter and starlight. This isn't a simple illusion spell, it's a total breakdown of local reality. Pennywise has realized that physical intimidation won't work on a Sorcerer Supreme, so the entity shifts tactics. It stops attacking the body and starts attacking the signal processing center. This is where the fight gets complicated. But it doesn't wait for your eyes to send signals. It bypasses the optic nerve entirely and stimulates the visual cortex directly. Suddenly, Strange isn't in Derry. He's back in the operating room, his hands crushed and useless. He sees the Ancient One dying over and over again. He sees the Vishanti, the godlike patrons of his magic, rotting in a pile of cosmic debris. This creates a state of sensory overload. The goal is to shatter Strange's cognitive resolve, to make him doubt his own senses so deeply that he forgets how to cast a spell. If you can't trust what your eyes see, you can't aim. But Strange has a failsafe that biology lacks. He reaches for the amulet at his throat. The Eye of Agamotto opens up. In the Marvel Universe, the eye is often treated as a truth revealer, but let's look at it through quantum mechanics. The eye acts as an ultimate quantum observer. In quantum physics, a particle exists in a state of probability. Pennywise is trying to force a false reality onto Strange, creating a chaotic wave function of horror. The eye looks at this chaos and forces it to collapse into the objective truth. When Strange's biological brain's being spammed with malware, the green light cuts through the illusion. The sewer returns. His mind was just being hacked. Recovering his bearings, Strange attempts to turn the tables. He creates a gateway to the mirror dimension, attempting to pull the entity into a contained geometry where he controls the physics. He drags the presence into the crystalline realm, expecting to fold the city over the creature. It doesn't work. The mirror dimension shatters instantly, not because Strange is weak, but because of what it is. Pennywise isn't a ghost haunting a house. It is the terminal of a massive extra-dimensional entity residing in the Macroverse. Trying to fit the Macroverse inside the mirror dimension is like trying to download the entire internet onto a floppy disk. The container is simply too small for the data. The geometry fractures. This forces a reevaluation. Strange is now on the defensive. His sensory inputs are compromised. His standard containment field is broken, and he knows that trusting his eyes could get him killed. We have to drop his survival rating significantly here. Tier of survival, Tier C. Strange is struggling. While the eye protects his mind from total collapse, he has lost the initiative. He can't trust the battlefield, and he can't contain the enemy. He's fighting a war on a front he can't fully perceive. And for the first time, the Sorcerer Supreme is backing up. Section 3. Dimensional Physics and the Astral Plane. Strange realizes that fighting a transdimensional entity with physical matter is a losing game. To survive this, he has to leave the battlefield entirely. He sits cross-legged on the dissolving pavement, drops his psychic wards, and initiates astral projection. Time seems to stop. In the physical world, he is vulnerable, a sitting duck for any physical minion it might summon. But in the metaphysical realm, he is unencumbered by gravity, friction, or the limitations of human muscles. He ascends into the space between dimensions, the astral plane, which serves as the borderland to its true domain. Here, the clown facade is stripped away entirely. Pennywise appears as a writhing, complex geometric structure of orange light and psychic pressure. This is where the famous ritual of Chewed from the lore comes into play. In the novels, this is described metaphorically as a battle of wits, a psychic tongue-biting contest. Pennywise has existed since the dawn of the universe, originating from the void outside the Macroverse. But Strange brings weapons that defy thermodynamics. He conjures the crimson bands of Sidorak. In the movies, these look like red whips used to restrain Thanos. In the comics and deep lore, Sidorak is a deity of binding and obliteration. In the astral plane, these aren't physical ropes. They are metaphysical constraints. Strange isn't trying to tie up a monster. He's binding the concept of a monster. He weaves the bands around the chaotic energy of the Deadlights, forcing the high entropy energy into a contained low entropy state. It retaliates with the bite. This isn't a physical bite, it's a resonant frequency attack aimed at the silver cord, the metaphysical tether connecting Strange's astral form to his physical body. Pennywise snaps at the cord, trying to cause immediate biological death via stroke or aneurysm in Strange's physical body below. Strange parries, reinforcing his tether with shield spells that vibrate at a counter frequency. Strange uses his superior technique to deflect the raw power, turning its own momentum against it. He tightens the crimson bands, compressing the orange light until the entity shrieks, a psychic sound that cracks the astral atmosphere. Tier of survival, Tier B. Strange has regained ground. By shifting the fight to a plane of pure will, he utilizes his discipline to counter its raw size. He's no longer losing, but the energy expenditure is critical. He's burning through his spiritual reserves to maintain the bind. He can't hold this tiger by the tail forever. He needs to end it. Section 4. The Macroverse and Quantum Consciousness. Strange realizes that maintaining a defensive perimeter is a losing strategy against an infinite opponent. He stops pulling back against the vacuum. Instead, he dives forward, plunging his astral form directly into the source of the corruption, the Deadlights. We are now leaving the map. This is the Macroverse, the space outside the universe where it truly resides. In the lore, looking into the Deadlights results in immediate, permanent catatonia for any mortal. The human brain simply cannot process the geometry of a creature that exists beyond the concept of form. But Stephen Strange is the Sorcerer Supreme. He has stared down Dormammu in the dark dimension. He has witnessed the birth of stars. As the orange light threatens to scrub his consciousness clean, Strange executes his final gambit. He invokes the Vishanti, Hoggoth, Ashtur, and Agamotto. In the comics, Strange has successfully channeled the power of eternity itself. The embodiment of all that Strange becomes a vessel of equal pressure. He matches the singularity's energy density. He isn't fighting the gravity, he's becoming the gravity. The feedback loop that usually destroys the viewer is synchronized. The fear signal it relies on is drowned out by the background radiation of the universe itself. Strange becomes a fixed point in a chaotic system. The orange light screams, not in anger, but in confusion. It's never encountered prey that bites back with the mass of a galaxy. Strange begins the incantation. He cannot kill the energy of the Deadlights. He weaves a complex spell of entropic binding. He collapses the dimensional tunnel, reconstructing the barrier between dimensions and stitching the fabric of space-time back together. He forces the massive entity back into the void. This is why the Sorcerer Supreme is the hard counter to the World Eater. Pennywise is an apex predator, but it's driven by instinct and hunger. It operates on a biological imperative. Strange is driven by discipline and accumulated knowledge. Strange's will is a fortress that raw hunger simply cannot breach. Tier of survival, Tier S. When we remove the physical limitations and take the fight to the cosmic hierarchy, Strange's access to infinite energy sources vastly outscales Pennywise's finite reserve. The clown might be ancient, but the sorcerer is eternal. Back on Neibolt Street, the portal snaps shut. Strange stands alone on the wet pavement, exhausted. A single red balloon drifts harmlessly into the sky. In a battle of biology, it wins. In a battle of cosmic hierarchy, Strange dominates. If you think prep time changes this outcome, comment below. Subscribe for more.